Now within Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we have seen Kawaki not fight with the level that many people expected, but what we don't know is why. Why has he not been able to absolutely dominate the competition like Boruto? Well, the answer's simple. He's been holding himself back, or maybe he just can't, for the time being, access his full power. Let me explain. First thing I would like to do is debunk the notion of he's taking L's or he hasn't trained. The first reason is we just know he has trained, and that's because of Mitsuki. While Mitsuki shouldn't know his full power because he would have no reason to use his horn form or might not be able to use it, I comment on that later, meaning he knows something possibly from training since Code wasn't in the village and no strong people are around to fight him during the time skip break. But another reason we just know he trained is because of now he has access to Ishiki's full dojutsu, which, given the end of Boruto Part 1, he didn't have it, so it would have had to been developed over the time skip break. Now that that's out the way, let's go over his supposed L's, so we can now go on with the explanation of why he's holding back, or why he can't call forth the Horn Karma mode or his true power. So the first L people like to say is when he gets his face smashed in the ground by a Rinnegan Claw Grime or an advanced Claw Grime and uses Karma to destroy it after Shikadai basically puts it in a shadow paralysis. This one isn't that crazy because I doubt anyone actually believes that this Claw Grime with the Rinnegan is on Kawaki's level, but if they do, he was simply off guard and in base, and when he did access Karma, he still wasn't trying his hardest, but still completely one-shot the Claw Grime. He didn't even activate his dojutsu. Next L is when people try to be dishonest and use the code is drained right now, but I can still probably take him argument to say that because he used the word probably, he's not sure and therefore weaker than a full power code. Firstly, I would like to say that Code's power most likely isn't drained in the sense that people think. It's probably in reference to how Code looks incredibly defeated and sick because the Uzuhiko is swirling in his body and creating this kind of sick or woozy effect. So Kawaki, not knowing what's happened, just takes one look at Code and assume he's drained. Not in the literal sense, but it's because he just looks sick. But even if he was drained and used the word probably, it's just a speech thing. And shouldn't be literal because, I mean, everyone here has conversations. We also talk in ways that doesn't use the direct dictionary definition every time. As an example, if you're like with your little brother or little cousin and he's having trouble with something and you come up and say, oh, I can probably do that, which doesn't have to mean that you're unsure of it. It just means y'all do it. But again, Kawaki was saying this while in base anyway, so if you want to take everything literally, you'll be forced to take literally that he would still handle Code in base, while weakened, whatever. Next thing that kind of has people thinking, oh, Kawaki took another L, is when Mitsuki knocked him out with a baby snake, and I never quite understood this one because not only is Mitsuki catching him off guard, but Mitsuki is someone who, due to omnipotence, has been his best friend for the past few years, so he would have no reason to expect anything. Even if you want to say Kawaki was ignoring him or wasn't quite had the relationship that Boruto had with Mitsuki, it still isn't a bad relationship and it still isn't anywhere near enemies. On top of that, it was poison, so it doesn't even attack his durability normally. It's not like he punched him and knocked him out. He just bit him with a snake that Kawaki couldn't sense or couldn't tell what was at, and he knocked him out. I mean, even Code couldn't tell when an entire frog was next to his hip. So yeah, doesn't scale to his durability normally. Also, Mitsuki in the fight comments on Kawaki being weaker than Boruto. I kind of touched up on this at first, but I would like to also mention that earlier, Kawaki has had no reason to kill someone or even flex his full power in the Leaf Village because while Boruto was gone on a mission with Sasuke or training or whatever you want to say, Code was looking for him. Code only recently showed up to the Leaf Village because he got tired of Boruto and Sasuke running and he hadn't been able to catch up with them at all since Sasuke's supposed death. So again, no strong enemies, no real task in a Leaf. Even if he's training with Mitsuki, he wouldn't try to kill Mitsuki given how he's still trying to keep up this, oh, I didn't really do anything facade and Kawaki is just not a bad person like that anymore. I mean, he saves villagers even. Mitsuki would just have an incomplete data set and have to assume a bunch of things, which makes this statement faulty. Lastly is him losing to Jura, but in reality, people shouldn't even bring up this because Jura is someone that we don't know how strong he is. No one knows how strong he is in compared to anyone. He could be 2,000 times stronger than Ishiki for all we know, 2 billion times stronger than Baryon for all we know. But Jura is someone who surpasses anything so far, it seems to me, because he is just the new main villain, and Code is just stated to not be able to handle any of these foes so far. And him even seeing Boruto fight and still coming in the Leaf Village just says as much as you wanted to say, even if you think Boruto is stronger than Kawaki, or whoever you think is stronger of the two, Jura seems to far surpass that, so we can't really fault him for that. If you want a more in-depth response on how strong Jura is, I'll have a video on him coming up next, so just wait a couple days or maybe a couple weeks and you'll have a Jura power skill on your hands. Now that the portion of explaining his L's is over, we can finally answer the question of, can he still even use his completed karma? Can he still access this horn form? Can he become the new Ishiki that people wanted him to be? Well, yes and no. And here's why. We see when Kawaki accesses the horn form or his Kawashiki form, in the past it's when Jigen gets him upset or gets him very emotional, and it basically triggers this transformation as sort of a byproduct. Keep that in mind. We never see it again until he accesses his new karma that Amato helped him awaken and gifted him, along with some interesting dialogue. He said, "Is it powerlessness that irritating you? Grief over losing karma? So take it for yourself, especially since Ishiki's gone. Brand new power in the form of a karma that's purely a weapon. You want to protect Lord Seventh, right? You need more power to deal with Code. Enough to take him down. You have the base criteria, and I can make it happen. It's all up to you, Kawaki. The choice is in your hands." That is single-handedly the most significant dialogue for Kawaki and his character and the power I will ever see. Let's walk through this. Amato is basically telling Kawaki that his thirst for power, and because his need to protect Naruto, is allowing him to help him bring out that power that surpasses Code and that truly allows him to become his strongest. Because right now Kawaki is scared and hopeless, using his mental state and an Otsutsuki DNA, Kawaki brings forth his power in full manifestation of the karma, Ishiki's horn, and all just to go against Code. And I guess by virtue Borishiki. This is showing us something that has been present in Naruto since the beginning, especially when in need for power, a ninja can only summon all of his power when he is mentally amped, or he is in a state of distress. Kawaki in this dire situation and in need for absolute power brings it out, meaning within the time skip, since Naruto is safe, Kawaki is no longer in danger and has no desire to do this anymore since Code is chasing Boruto. He also has no need for this overwhelming power. Basically using karma, which is what he will use to wipe out the Otsutsuki said by him, as a weapon. Or in other words, karma in the form of a weapon, just like Amato said. Meaning that so far throughout the time skip, Kawaki has not been able to show his true power, using that we can fully say that soon he will show us that yes, he has grown and yes, he is extremely powerful. He just needs the mental unlock that pushed him in the Code arc. Something I would also like to add is that when I mentioned that this was something in Naruto, I was basically going over along the lines of when Naruto used to need to access Nine Tails chakra, or when he needed to protect a friend, or when he needed to do anything, he could only bring out the full power and full capabilities of the Nine Tails when his mental state was calling for him to do so, when he was in dire need, when he needed to protect someone. It's even stated in part 1 that Naruto can't utilize the full power of the Nine Tails unless it's a dire situation, during his training with, of course, Jiraiya. So this is just, of course, Kishimoto being consistent with being one of the greatest writers of our time and using callbacks to Naruto to further extrapolate on new characters. I will again make a completely separate video on Boruto, as while I think he shares the reason of holding back, it's not quite the same as in the Kawaki example, but another way in its own. But it could just be as simple as Kawaki just had no reason to go all out, which is perfectly possible as well. Just as likely as this interpretation, I just like to go with this one because it adds the narrative aspect. But it would also add the narrative aspect if he just had no reason to, like I said. Because given the situations that he should have been put in within the last 3 years, he should have been living a relatively comfortable life, no one to fight, only friends around him. He can just train to his heart's content and do whatever he wants. He even has faith and confidence that he can beat Boruto still after seeing Code defeated and still after getting knocked out and waking up from the Mitsuki fight. So I doubt he's way weaker than Boruto, especially in his horn form. I mean, even versus Jura, he really just wanted answers first because he can't just go willy-nilly and start destroying everything. But before he can even question Jura or do anything, he just got trapped in a tree and Jura tried to attack him. I think once he fights Jura again, or maybe Boruto, he will have his awakening and show the true power of the karma. I really think this because he does get an outfit change later on in the time skip. We know this because of the chapter 1 of Boruto part 1. As we know in Naruto, just historically, an outfit change usually comes with some gigantic mind shift or some gigantic power boost. We see this every time Sasuke changes an outfit. It's usually after a power-up, after this some big event in his life, or when he's preparing for a big event in his life. We also see it with Naruto, I guess pseudo through the KCM form change. And we also see it when Naruto's in the blank period, when Naruto's in the last, and once he becomes Hokage. Historically, the main characters and the deuteragonists just has to have a power boost once they have these outfit changes, as it signifies a great growth in character. With that being said though, just when does this outfit change come in? Because it's pretty clear when Sasuke is about to get an outfit change. Like after he fought Itachi, his outfit was kind of destroyed, so he couldn't really have it on anymore. Thus him changing into his new MS form, or MS outfit, people like to dub it. Or like in part 1 when he started his training with Kakashi and came back in his black uniform. Just when will this change come for Kawaki? Well, I have a few theories on that. The first one being versus Jura. Now this is, of course, I think is just the most unlikely one, because Jura is the current antagonist, so I don't know if he's just going to outfit change this early, but it still is possible. To me, Jura is seemingly an unbeatable force. I don't think he's going to go down anytime soon, and it might be a situation of like Itachi versus Sasuke, to where he just gets absolutely obliterated again and all of his clothing is destroyed, forcing him to kind of go into this space to where he kind of self-reflects, and also outfit change kind of signify this. Even though I said it was probably too early for this, I am perfectly fine with this. I'm perfectly fine with Jura being the catalyst for his awakening, or the catalyst for his understanding. I'm perfectly okay with that. The next one is versus Boruto. Now, I'm not talking about the final fight because he already has the outfit change in the final fight. I'm talking about maybe they have a fight in between and Kawaki might lose or win. Doesn't really matter, and he goes on to completely shift his ideals and completely shifts his outfits, turning just fully evil. This will kind of just mirror how Sasuke and Naruto had their final battle, and since they kind of growed up and both went on time skips or training to do whatever they had their goals in mind for, they had the outfit change. This will be more along the lines of one that's just comes with time instead of coming with a mind shift change, but I'm also okay with that one. The next two I think are just, completely head above heels, the most likely ones, and what I actually think is going to happen. The first one being is when he turns on the leaf. We know he eventually turns on the leaf and destroys it, and we also know before he destroys it, there were some events leading up to that. It just wasn't this spontaneous thing. If that is true and going with that reasoning, then him turning on a leaf before he does that, he's going to adopt this outfit in which he sports Ishiki or Jigen's pole. My only slight issue with this one is it could also just be the case that he destroyed the village spontaneously, and that this outfit wasn't because he had already destroyed the village and he had already did a bunch of evil things before this. But I don't know. This next one, though, I think barely has any flaws and will most likely be it. It's been hinted at a bunch that Ida is not digging the vibes with Kawaki, and she's not okay with things that he's been doing. It's also been hinted at that Damon also just isn't respecting Kawaki. Damon already thinks he's the strongest. He has an ego. He doesn't really care what Kawaki's doing. He's only not doing anything because Ida loves Kawaki. So if Kawaki was to do anything else to Ida, or Damon was to learn of the events in the forest to which he tried to choke Ida or like grab her shirt so that she wouldn't say anything quite forcibly, then Damon would probably snap. This will cause Damon to like pummel Kawaki, or them to have a big fight, causing him to outfit change and leave the village, right? I see this one as so likely because, again, I was talking about how they've been clashing a bunch, and Ida doesn't really seem to be on her same thing that she was on in part 1, where she just wanted to meet him and wanted to be around him so much so. She seems to be more on the side of, oh, I can do this, I don't really have to, but still he's the only person who can love me, who can truly love me and have genuine feelings for me, given that I have the charm ability. This is also heavily expressed in chapter 8, in which he fights Jura. Before that, him and Delta has a bit of a back and forth, and Delta gets mad at Kawaki because how he goes off on Ida and because how he treats Ida. She puts the blame on herself and says he doesn't understand why she did that to Ida, and that she's basically going to go tell him off. These are just the minor events leading up to a big explosion, or big fight, I should say, between him and Ida and Damon. I just think it's almost like a hot and ready grenade ready to explode. Now that I've talked about why he can't access his power and will his outfit change come soon or later, I would like to kind of go over the reason why I talked about both in this same video. It is because that I think when he awakens this power, and once he actually uses this power, it will be once the outfit change comes. Because like he came to the realization that he's going to use karma purely in the form of a weapon and use his weapon, that being karma, to defeat the Ototsukis, it was a big character moment for him. He started acting different. He started using Ishiki's dojutsu more. He started just standing on business. He even called out Boruto and Momoshiki in front of everybody, prompting Boruto to just leave. And after that, he sealed Naruto and Hinata. We know in the outfit change, at least all of the stuff that we've seen with the outfit so far, that being just a little sneak peek we got within chapter 1, that he seems to be fighting like Ishiki and Jigen fought, or more importantly, Jigen, which should be the fighting style that he learned as he was growing up and getting trained by Jigen. He's using the pole, he's showing his karma, and he just seems to be as ruthless as ever, and Boruto is battle damaged. This is showing that he can now compete with Boruto, contrary to everyone's popular beliefs, and he's also having this fighting style that he learned from Jigen. This is him just outright becoming the new Ishiki. This is him fulfilling what he is supposed to be. This is him unlocking the maximum amount of power that we've seen so far. This is the strongest Kawaki. In this new form, where Kawaki is just using his full power and using all of the implications throughout the story that he's becoming the new Ishiki, it's all on full display. The village is destroyed just like Ishiki was going to, just like Juro was going to. He's went the farthest that we've seen. This is due to Boruto's dialogue at the beginning when Boruto says, "I can't believe you went this far, Kawaki. This was the only possible outcome." This is when he pushes Boruto to the absolute brink, and Boruto can no longer just save him anymore. Kawaki has just went too far, and this was the only possible outcome. With that being said, though, I am still interested on when he goes on this journey, how he gets stronger than just his horned form. Because people have been theorizing that, yeah, even if he does unlock his full karma mode, he's going to get way more amps than that. We know Sasuke, even while getting the full Mangekyo and eventually the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, still unlocked the Rinnegan and still had amps other than that. The only thing I can possibly see is him possibly getting a chakra fruit if Code becomes like an Otsutsuki, or maybe him absorbing Jura and all the other Clawgrime, advanced Clawgrimes, or maybe him just absorbing all of the Clawgrimes in general. Besides that, I don't even think he may even need it, or if he will absorb these things, given how he wants to eradicate the Otsutsuki. Because we know by that time in the story, Ida doesn't seem to be alive, Damon doesn't seem to be alive, Code doesn't seem to be alive, no one else seems to be present or conscious to interrupt Boruto and Kawaki's fight. Ida lives in the village, Damon lives in the village. We know Code just wouldn't let them do that. Code would probably try to intervene. We know Jura and Hidari and Matsuri and the Bug Clawgrime, we know them all are against Boruto and Kawaki, given how they're Otsutsuki and they want to feed on them and make a god tree and destroy the planet. So why isn't anyone else stepping in? Everyone else might either just be unconscious or dead or absorbed by Kawaki. I'm fine with either route. Both routes make sense. He is power hungry. Maybe he will absorb them. But if he decides that he doesn't really need the little minuscule amp that they will give him, then he could just discard them and destroy him like the other Clawgrimes. With that being said, though, or the closing thoughts of the video, I am super excited and interested to see how Boruto combats this newfound ideology that Kawaki gains. I'm also interested to see how Kawaki has finally went too far and what finally pushed Boruto to say, oh, this was the only possible outcome, and just fight him with his karma activated. Boruto's battle damaged, Kawaki's evil, the leaf is destroyed. There's so many questions, not any answers. I'm just excited for the future of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. A Boruto version of this video will be coming soon. More content on the way. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and goodbye.